I am here on Giant Steps with the brilliant DJ, producer, and musician Lorenzo Morresi, who recently released his excellent new album, Music for Closed Airports. So, hello, Lorenzo. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hi, Dom. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Go straight in to the new record then. Where did this title, Music for Closed Airports, come about? Where did it come from?
Well, it's a combination of factors, I would say. And the album has been done during lockdown, so of course, like airports were closing everywhere, and the idea of the album was also inspired by Mars and all the space trips. That's how the record cover came out. It's from an ASA archive photo. So it was a mix of factors. Of course, there is a little quote from Music for Airports by Brian Eno. Of course, the genre is different, but it's a record I've been listening a lot.
That's a great record.
A lot of years ago, and it inspired me, musically as well. So it's one of those things that come out in your mind and in some ways works. So I just thought, let's go for it.
And you said there about the sort of the link to space and the focus on Mars in particular. Obviously, you've got the Send Your Name to Mars, and you've got the Red Planet, and I think it's Sojourner is that the name of the rover that was part of the mission?
Exactly. That's the rover, and 1997 is the year, which is
of the actual mission itself.
Another song. Of the mission. So I mean the this duality between everything closed and lockdowns, and the opportunity to think as as a man that can travel to space. It was in some way like a research of hope, if I can use this word, in the sense that the answer to lockdown was basically space. That could be a synthesis to what it was in my mind. And of course, I've been always fascinated by NASA work. Their pictures, they're all stunning and so inspiring. So that wasn't more or less the concept. Trying to like figure out a musical way to combine, innovative elements and traditional ones, analog sounds and percussions and new ways of using synthesizers. That was, like a synthesis of all this.
Sort of like trying to create a soundtrack for the planet almost.
Yeah, in some ways, an effort to, at least give my vision in some ways.
Has space been something you've always been quite interested in when you were younger as well, or is this just this lockdown connection?
Yes, no. It's always been something, like the technology and everything. I've been always been fascinated by this mystery. It's still something we don't know really well, and makes you ask a lot of questions about us. As a planet, as humans, as like how we are in some ways, damaging our planet, and how small this planet is compared to galaxies. Of course, it's a lot of it inspires me musically as well. Like I love psychedelic sounds, cosmic atmospheres. So it's like space. The word in itself means you have space to experiment.
Definitely. Something that's quite intrigued me as well about this record is I saw it was described as sort of like a mix of jazz funk, sort of house, electronica, and then the real key one I was interested in was the Italian library music. I didn't know if you could talk us a little bit about that. It kind of intrigues me, sort of what that is and sort of why that's an influence in your music.
Library music was born, like late 60s, early 70s. It was basically music for advertising, and it was considered like, cheap music. But some composers like Piero Miliani, Piccioni, there are plenty of them. they were basically working for the national TV, which is called Rai, and they had a studio in Rome. So, I mean, these guys, they had a jazz background and also, an experimental background. So they were doing this advertising music, but experimenting quite a lot. So, with time, people realized it was like a very interesting, musical movement. And they've been rediscovered. Even now, I would say, internationally, there are these combinations. There is a part which is cinematic, a part which is more like jazz or funk that was inspiring by the US music or UK music. So it's a combination of things, but the atmosphere is always quite light, quite happy, joyful, I would say. But at the same time, it's like dark as well. It's a lot of synthesizers are involved. And I always found this music very, very inspiring. And that's how sometimes I reference this style.
And I read it was actually this love of sort of Italian library music that brought you together with Tendalonius, because I know you released a couple of great singles last year together. Was this a common thread you had?
Yeah. It started from this record we both knew, which is called Feelings. By the name was Jay Richford, but it was a nickname from Stefano Torossi. They use all these Italian guys. They were using like English name, like nicknames. We both liked this album, and we played. We met in a festival in 2017. And we were talking about this, and we said, hey, why don't we try something on this mood? And so now we're gonna release in January another 2 tracks, another 7-inch, and the album is gonna come out hopefully this year as well. So we're working on this, and actually we're doing some recordings in Italy very soon, on the next week. So hopefully the album is gonna be ready in a few months.
Oh, can't wait to hear that. I'll definitely be playing that on the show when it comes out.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you're going to record back in Italy there. How do you sort of split your time between sort of the UK and Italy? Do you travel much between the two? I guess with COVID it was harder.
I moved to London in 2012. And I always stayed. COVID, complicated things a little bit, and I spent most of my time in Italy because London sometimes it can be hard of like being there, and for all the expenses you have regarding like studios and stuff. So now it's quite easy. I live in Ancona, which is like central Italy. It's quite easy to fly. There is a direct flight to London, so it's like 1.5 years. And I would say I split like half and half. I'm now coming back to London end of the month. And but it really depends on how how many gig I have. But I would say I would like to spend more time in London now after COVID, and of course it's like a different territory of work and everything.
Whereabouts are you based in Italy?
It's East Coast. So it's called the region is called Le Marche, and it's where we are doing all the recordings with Tendalonius. There is this countryside studio we are using, which is it's quite nice to be there, and have maybe a week of session, things like this. We're doing maybe 7 days each time. And it's the right place to do that.
Is there sort of a music scene around that area, or is it more just for a solitary sort of escape to do the recordings?
Well, it's quite, I would say there are a lot of great musicians in the area, especially, regarding jazz. But I wouldn't say there is a proper music scene. There are some clubs, I mean, that there were with COVID, you know, some of them closed, and now there's like slowly reopening. Here in Italy, it's still not allowed, you know, to basically dance
Hmm.
and attend gigs, yeah, without like masks and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say it's more like a solitary experience, and
Hmm.
but still what you need sometimes.
Yeah. Let escape to do the recording.
Yeah.
Something else that quite interested to talk to you about is of course you now have your own record label as well, Super Eclectic Music. Was this something you always wanted to do, or is this something that's only come about recently? How did this label sort of come into being?
Yeah, that's always been, you know, like a goal for me. And COVID, of course, gave me the time to work on this. And another DJ is helping me. It's called Tommaso Cicconi, and is a guy from, you know, from Italy as well. So basically, we started talking together about this because like his father owns like a big record collection on vinyl. So, and he has a lot of, yeah, like library music, disco, house. So the idea was to both like release new music and also, you know, repress some of the gems his father
Oh,
has, you
nice.
know, back from the 70s, you know, when they basically were buying records every day, you know, and he has some of the records they don't even have like a label, but there is amazing music, you know, Afro, cosmic sort of vibes as well. So yeah, we sort of want to, you know, rediscover these territories, because we both like these musical vibes, even for DJing as well. And so yeah, we worked on the bureaucracy thing, you know. With my last record is has been released via Super Eclectic, so you know there is a lot of work on pressing vinyls, of course, like, you know, distributors, or all the job a record label has to do. It was the first time for me, but yeah, I have to say, you know, it's quite rewarding when, you know, we started selling some copies like last week when the
Yeah,
record came out. And it's nice to, you know, when you get a message from Bandcamp that someone is, you know, buying your record, it's really you know, it's a nice feeling. So it justifies all the work, because of course there is a lot of work and investment on a record label
mm,
now. And you know, I don't think it's easy to make it like a business. So yeah, it's a work of passion, and hopefully one day you know, a passion and business.
definitely. So and to go back in time sort of a bit further, then you talked about sort of this love of these old vinyls and sort of repressing them and getting them out to a new market. But sort of when did that sort of first begin? When did you first sort of start getting into DJing and sort of making music and discovering all these sort of old classics?
Well, I started as a DJ, but maybe playing more like electronic music. Yeah, maybe, yeah, I started like I would say maybe 12 years ago, something like this. And but I was more playing like in clubs, so you know, it was you know, like electronic music. I mean, I always liked vinyls, but I never had the chance to, you know, have shops, inspiring shops around. That
Mm,
started in London, basically, because there is a friend who owns this record label called Fly By Night Music, that also has a shop in London called Your Fab Shack. So you know, the opportunity of being like, I worked on this record shop as well, so the opportunity of like you know, digging almost every day made me discover you know, my strong passion, which now is basically more related to old school vinyls, you know, like especially from the 70s. I think there is a huge you know, production on that time, so it's like a never ending digging work. So yeah, that's how I started, you know, being passionate about it. And you know, through jazz, funk, you know, and yeah, like every genre really. But I really like that time of music production.
something on this show is this radio show is obviously predominantly a jazz show. And something we always like to ask guests on the show to sort of suggest or recommend sort of one jazz track to someone. So sort of from that era, what would be your choice?
Wow, that's like a million dollar question. Well, it's full. It will be probably be easy of like what I'm listening now. It's like it would be it's one, but it could be thousand. Like now, I really like. There is this album by Dave Brubeck called Jazz Impressions of Japan, and there is this track in particular called Tokyo Traffic, who's that's a jazz track, but also like there are some Japan percussive elements on it, and I find this album like really beautiful. I'm listening to it a lot these days. So yeah, I would say Tokyo Traffic by Dave Brubeck.
Awesome. Well, we'll play that track a little bit later on in the show.
Nice. Let me know what you think.
I will do. But finally, we'll play one of your tracks next on the show as well. We're going to play Red Planet, which is one of my favorites on the album. So could you sort of tell us a little bit about how this track in particular came about, how this one was made?
Well, this track is it's part of the like clubby, side of my record, and I used an FM synthesizers. It's called Yamaha DX7, which is like an 80s classic synth. So I love those sounds. There is a marimba in particular I really like, and I'm using on that track together with an analog bass I'm using from a Studio Electronic synth. And I wanted to build this atmosphere of trying to use these Italian libraries melody synths and combine them on a more like modern way with like sort of deep house vibe. So yeah, I tried some melodies on the top of the rhythm as well, and that's how more or less the track has been done.
Well, it's a great track, and we'll be playing it.
Thank you.
Next
Thanks.
on the show. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on the show and talking to me.
Thanks a lot, Dom. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure, and forgive my Italo-English, but
no.
That's the best I can do.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Much better than my Italian. So but yeah, for everyone out there listening, Lorenzo Morresi's fantastic new album, Music for Closed Airports, is out now. Go check it out. An amazing record. And for now, here's another great track from it in the form of Red Planet.